Welcome back to the Counsel of Men, the space where we slow things down and talk honestly about men's mental health, identity, and the moments that shape who we are. In today's episode, we're sitting down with a friend of the podcast, John Cluckie, for a powerful and deeply human conversation. John grew up in a small town in the southwest of Scotland in the 1950s, and I'm giving away his age there a bit, but at a time where homosexuality was still illegal in the UK. He later immigrated to the United States, where he built a career in advertising, and he now lives there with his husband Andre and their son Todd. And today we'll explore how those early experiences shaped him, both the wounds they left behind and the unexpected strengths they forged, and how they influenced his life, his work, and his sense of self. John also offers thoughtful reflections on today's LGBTQ+ movement and some grounded, compassionate advice for young people who may be struggling with their sexuality right now. This is a conversation about courage, resilience, and the long road to self-acceptance. So as always, stick around, have a listen, maybe even have a laugh, and hopefully John's shared experience will help someone out there feel a little less alone.
Mind, oh man, life hits harder than we planned. So we gather, we chat, we reset again at the Counsel of Men.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 3.
Welcome.
Our avid viewers will see that Kieran got an upgrade. John, thank you very much. Thank you for flying all the way from LA for this.
Welcome.
You know, we really appreciate it. And thank you for dressing up as well.
Oh, thank you. I think.
I won't bother with intros, but of course we have the usual. We have William, we have Rob, who is probably a bit cold right now.
Yeah, hasn't got his bonnet
Because
on.
he hasn't got his bonnet on,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
My hair grew back.
So you can actually hear the conversation. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, John, before we get into the kind of today's episode, in a few minutes, just would you mind introducing yourself in as much detail as you want?
I grew up in Wigtown and I lived in London, one of my favorite cities on the planet. I'm thrilled to be back. I moved here for 6 years and then I went to California and I've been in LA ever since. So, and I was working in just scratch that. I was working in advertising for 35 plus years and I just retired in December. So.
Yeah, and I want to unpack that in a bit. But as is tradition with this episode, John, one question that we do ask our guests is, what is the one thing that people usually get wrong about you when they meet you for the first time?
That I'm really loud all the time and always on, and I'm not. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I've always got this thing of people aren't introverted or extroverted. They're kind of somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So everybody needs a little bit of time to recharge, and maybe you're on one side more than the other. But
yeah,
it's interesting that you're. I've only met you for about 5-10 minutes now, but I'm getting the impression that you're quite good in social situations. And I think even I have the same situation where I can come across loud, and then you guys take the mickey out of me because I get really grumpy if I've been with people for about more than an hour at a time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've had to experience that, Robert.
I'm not grumpy.
Yes.
I just need quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tire myself out. I wear myself out,
Yeah.
I assume in kind of working in advertising, it's probably part and parcel.
Because when you're in production, you're full on.
Yeah.
And you hear your name. If you're on location or you're on a 5-day shoot or a 10-day shoot, which is pretty ruthless, you hear your name. I hear Cluckie, that's everybody calls me, Cluckie. I hear Cluckie all day long for 12 solid hours. So when I get back to the hotel, I don't turn the TV on. I don't look at my phone. I just don't turn, it's just quiet. I just got to be quiet.
It's a bit of a performance because you do have a dear friend who said, we're theatre people.
Charles, my best friend Charles.
What's a theatre person?
A theatre person is
on for the performance.
On for the performance, and then you turn it off. So, yeah. But
I get that.
yeah. So.
I can imagine. I mean, I think that's probably a question for another episode. But you have access to all this information on your phone these days. That when you're working a 12-hour day and you have to be on it, the last thing you want is to be on your phone and continue having to have these conversations with people. Continue, that kind of narrative. Sometimes you do just want to lock yourself in a dark room and just be yourself, be by yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you text me and I just
Leave me on
put
blank.
the phone down.
Okay, so I won't take it personally.
Yeah, that's just rude.
But sometimes you actually really want to pick up your phone and throw it into a river.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think
I get it.
is, you know, why are you? People are not engaged. People are walking through airports and crossing roads and in the theater. Even today, I saw lights. What are you checking? What's so important that you're checking?
Yeah.
And also, I think sometimes just be quiet for a day. Don't turn the TV on. Don't look at your phone. Turn it off. Read. Just read something or go for a nice walk or, you know.
I think that's a massive, that's a massive pet peeve of mine is when you go to the theater or you go to a concert and you see people with their phones. It's like, just be in the
Yeah, it's
moment.
a sea of phones now.
What, you are not going to watch that video back, let's be honest. I mean, there's so many videos on my phone, which I haven't looked back at. Just be present, you know, take it in real life, IRL. But yeah, again, that's another topic.
And if you've paid $300 for your favorite artist,
Paying
so
for someone
watch
else.
the show. What are you taping it for?
Exactly.
First of all, he's going to look chitty, on a phone. It's, you know, and also they're there for you in person.
Yeah, and then the person behind you is essentially watching it from a camera anyway. Because they can't see
Are
the
we
live
showing our age now?
We are.
Is this an age thing?
It is.
Not for me.
But
These younger guys that love it, don't they? But anyway,
I did actually forget to introduce someone as well.
Oh,
Our special guest.
oh
And he's here just for Robert. But I don't know if you can see it in the camera, or maybe I'll bring him a bit over
This
here.
is,
yeah, we see him.
This is our running joke, John, for those
Who
who've
is
been
he?
following. That's
Timothy.
Timothy Chalamet, who I believe has won a few awards recently.
Golden
Golden Globe.
Golden Globes.
Yeah.
So we're manifesting his attendance in this podcast.
yeah.
Do you want him on?
Well,
Do you know
one day.
anyone who-
No.
with your LA advertising
I think he's a
connections?
very interesting character.
So do I. Yeah.
I mean, I think he immerses himself in roles. I think he's a chameleon. He's a total chameleon. He's a very fine actor. My good friend Sandy did not like the Bob Dylan movie.
yeah.
She thought it was a vanity project. I thought it was absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant.
it's got good.
I thought it
good
was
reviews.
amazing, and I loved him in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate. I mean, I think he's great.
He's great.
But there's definitely many layers there. So,
Well, Tim, if you want to come on and defend your
your
your role as Bob Dylan.
No, we like him for his philosophy mostly.
Yeah,
don't
he's
we
a
like
very
him
wise
for his
man.
philosophy.
He's obviously written an autobiography. So.
Timothy
know if he's
Chalamet's
written
written an autobiography.
No, I
yeah,
don't think so.
yeah,
It
Robert
wasn't very
produced
long.
it.
He's only 12.
Well, anyway, so John, this gives us, thank you for answering that question. Gives us a good insight into where you are today. But I just want to rewind a bit, take things back a bit. So you grew up in Wigtown.
I did.
And for those that aren't familiar with Wigtown, would it be safe to describe it as a relatively small town?
900 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could take us through your early life in Wigtown and give us a sense of what it was like growing up.
It
Tell us about Wigtown. What's Wigtown?
Wigtown is a small town in southwest Scotland. And when I was growing up, your three choices when you left school were the creamery, where they made cheese and margarine, the forestry, which is where they grew trees and felled them and all that, or the precast, which is where they made granite or something.
concrete or
And then there's
something,
one other one. What was the other?
Probably the council.
The council, but there was, so you really didn't have, and you're also, college wasn't encouraged. I had a friend who told, I'm not going to repeat what his mother said verbatim because it's got some offensive words in it, but we were talking about going to college and she said to him, you haven't got the brains to take yourself to the back door, get your name into the creamery and get a paycheck brought up in this strong Scottish accent. So it was, when all those three places closed, when everything closed, the town was kind of decimated in the 80s. I was long gone. And there were drugs came in. And then I think it was in the 90s, it became Scotland's book town.
Yeah.
And now it's got this huge book festival, and the town looks really good. There's a lot of people from down south that have moved up. There's a lot of people from all places have moved there. So it's actually quite cultural now. The problem is there's the people that move in kind of embrace the culture.
Yeah.
Some of the people who live there embrace the culture. Then there are people that just don't want anything to change. So my parents were great. I loved my parents very much. They were great. They provided for us. It was not an opulent upbringing by any means. They were hard workers. Money was tight, but there weren't many. I couldn't have stayed there. I'd have suffocated. It was just too small for me. And I had been to London when I was 14 with the school, and shared a room with this guy called James in the Mardis Court Hotel in Earl's Court. I see it so clearly. And we were in the basement, and the teacher came around and checked all the rooms from the 5th floor to the basement. And we were in rooms now. You wouldn't do it nowadays. Anyway, at 11 o'clock at night, I said to James, he said, "What are you doing?" As I opened the basement window, I said, "Shh." So I climbed out and went to Earl's Court Road. And I saw nightlife and gay people and bright lights. And I was just mesmerized. So I was there for 2 hours just watching everything. And then I climbed back in the bedroom window, and he said, "You're going to get into so much trouble." I said, "I'm going to live here one day." And as soon as I could get out, I got out. Partly because it wasn't, high school was pretty miserable, pretty terrible. I kind of came home.
There's not many people in Wigtown, I can imagine. Is that one high school for just Wigtown?
No, the high school was huge. It was in Newton Stewart, so it was for about maybe 10?
Yeah, it takes in
10
quite a few
towns
communities.
from so it was a big high school.
Yeah.
But I know Matt's got to come to this, but do you want to expand a bit on why high school was miserable?
Bullying, just bullying, daily till I fought back. And then realizing there was something other than this out there, that this was not for me.
What point was that you've said when you were in London, but was there a point before that where you were kind of like, "Oh, I'm not a small town person. I want to go and live in London, or I want to be more than this"?
I was very confused because I had feelings. I remember looking at, you probably don't know who he is, but Google him, from 1973, David Essex. My dad had gone to London for a football game, and he brought me back up. This sounds so gay. A Diana Ross album, and a David Essex album. And David Essex was so hot. And of course, I love Diana Ross. So, but I remember looking at David Essex, kind of like, I'm thinking, do I have a crush on him? And I did, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I did.
But you never.
But what do you do with it?
Yeah. Well, that leads me to one of my questions.
Yeah.
Was there well, firstly, obviously you had a very tight family dynamic.
Yes.
You mentioned. But outside of that, were there any influences in your life within Wigtown that you felt comfortable opening up to?
No.
No. So could you open up to your family?
No.
Okay.
No, it was nothing was ever.
Is that because it wasn't understood? Or?
It just wasn't accepted. There was one person who used to come from Newton Stewart who was very effeminate and the stereotypical gay person you would see on 70s and 60s TV shows, which were highly insulting when you look at them today, and he would come to bingo. Or he would get off the bus and come to bingo, and people would shout things at him, from the bus to the bingo. And I just thought, oh my God, I don't want to be like that, So there was no role models to look up to. There was nothing. There was really.
Until you found David Essex.
Until I found David Essex.
So was that kind of your first experience of realizing that maybe?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw him on TV as well, I kind of was obsessed with him. Diana Ross, which I think in the mindset in Wigtown, it was like, you know what? You're admiring. If they'd gone inside my head, they'd be thinking you're admiring a man and a black woman.
Maybe too much.
Which one? Which one? And then I ended up marrying a black man. So you know, it all come around. Who wasn't David Essex?
Yeah, but I'm always really interested in this. Is the kind of the awakening, because it's not. I can't imagine, or maybe for some people it's like, oh, that guy's hot. I'm attracted to that.
But you couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah, or is it kind of a slow thing where you were trying to decide, or you were trying to repress it because you were uncomfortable at school, or
I was very uncomfortable at school. I had a friend who I think was gay. He was killed in a motorcycle accident when I was 17. We were very close. I think he was gay. We never discussed it, but he and I were very close and hung out together. But you know, the bullying at high school was pretty awful. But you know,
was that because of your sexuality, or just
because of who I was? Because I mean, it's not as if, you know, I'm not the most masculine person in the world, so you know, it's not as if.
But you weren't exactly walking around in fishnet stockings.
Well, I wasn't walking around in stilettos either.
You don't start there, yeah.
But it was just very oppressive, and also it was just easier to be in my room with my David Essex album, playing Diana Ross, and just thinking, you know, someday I'll leave here, someday I'll leave here, someday I'll leave here, especially after having been to London.
And you said about until you fought back.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Well, it sounded like somebody's head hitting a tile wall in a toilet, because I just had enough. I just had enough.
We're not promoting violence.
No.
Promoting violence.
And to the person I pushed, I do apologize.
But don't regret it.
But no, I just had enough, and I kind of snapped.
Yeah.
And shoved them with all my strength and their head, and I thought, oh my God, have I killed them?
So I think I know the answer to this question, but just for the sake of clarity, how is your mental health at this time?
Depressed. I would say there was some depression, definitely some underlying depression that I was fighting. But you know, there was no. I didn't know what a therapist was. I didn't know what mental health was. Never discussed.
So outside of Diana Ross and David Essex, how did you? What was your coping mechanism?
Just I delivered milk in the morning before school, and then the summer I worked on the farm. So that, and I kind of enjoyed that, and the woman I worked for was great, and it was just about saving money to eventually get to London. And when I was 17,
so you kind of had an end goal. In sight,
as soon as because I think in 18 you needed your parents' permission, and I think there was a law that passed. I think you were considered emancipated at 16 in Scotland.
Yep.
So I left at 17. Just there were
as soon as you could.
As soon as I could. There were 4 of us. 2 of us stayed away. 2 went back within 3 weeks, and which is fine because that's what they knew. And city life isn't for everybody.
No, it's not.
But country life isn't for me.
So you left to London.
I left for London. Yeah.
Were you scared? Were you excited? Overwhelmed? Were you?
I scared, excited, thrilled, nervous, naive, really naive. I mean, I stayed in a youth hostel till I got my first paycheck. I got a job at Austin Reed, which was a menswear clothing store. I was like, there seems to be like gay men working in retail. Anyway, but I was so naive. You would look in the Evening Standard every night for flats to let or rooms to share. And there was this, no phone number, but there was an address, and it was 25 Fawcett Street in Chelsea. It was at Fulham Road and Gunter Grove. So I checked out. I went back to the youth hostel, got my bags, and got the 14 bus to Fulham Road, walked up, found the address, knocked on the door, and I said, I'm here for the flat. And they looked, and they were all old Etonians. They'd all been to Eton. They were terribly posh, terribly posh. Anyway, they,
I probably couldn't understand what
so
you were saying.
I showed up and I said, I'm here for the flat. And they said, oh. And I said, well, I just want to see it first to see if I like it. And they said, oh. And David Cohen was one of the guys. He was very funny. He said, well, I think we got I think we have some questions with you. And I said, well, okay. So I said, I'll bring my bags up in case I stay. And I think then they sort of showed me the fact that you'll be sharing with this person and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I like it. I think I'll take it. And they said, you know what, could we leave you here for a second because we have to have a conversation? And I think they were so fascinated. They said, okay. And they were
On the spot. Okay.
They said, okay. And they were all frightfully rich, terribly posh. And they were lovely. They were so lovely. And
And how long did you stay there for?
a year with them, and then they moved on. But I remember one of the guys was called Air. A-Y-R, Air.
Wow.
And his parents lived in Surrey, and they had an apartment in Cadogan Square. And they had a party. I think it was his 18th birthday party. And I was invited to the party, and it was amazing. It was just amazing. But I found myself,
You found yourself there.
I found myself as a kind of a chameleon as well, because I remember his mother coming up and saying to me, oh, you're John, you're the new roommate, how are you? I said, lovely. What a lovely home you I said, what a lovely home you got. And she said, did you get some canapes? I said, oh, delicious. So I was kind of mesmerized. And then they left, and then there was a woman who lived downstairs called Julie. And she moved up with me, and then we got 4 other roommates.
But at any point, did you feel comfortable being yourself?
Yes.
With
those guys were really fine with it. And then Austin Reed, I made friends there who were gay. And then I went to the first club in my life, which was so liberating. It was it was so great. It was so freeing. London was my salvation. It was my savior.
Well, how would you describe Wigtown in comparison to London in terms of, it'd be different now, obviously, because it's a little while later.
No comparison.
I just think you cannot compare it, because it's I think with small towns, you're quite insulated, and they're not really interested in what happens in other people's lives, and they rarely go to cities. They go on a bus trip to Glasgow for shopping. But basically, you're dropped at a shopping centre. So that the thought of, I think, the thing I loved was the museums and the theatre and all the stuff that London gave. Also, just the vibrancy and the life and the And I'm sure when you went out to the suburbs, there was terrible homophobia, I'm sure as well. But in town, it was very freeing.
A lot more cosmopolitan.
It was way more cosmopolitan. It was really, it was a great experience for me.
So you came to London essentially as yourself. You never came as anything else. As soon as you got to London, you were coming to London as John.
And then I morphed into whoever I was with at the time.
But you never had that awakening in London, so to speak.
You didn't have a coming out.
You didn't have a...
No, because I really didn't have to.
Yeah.
But I was very careful. When I left Austin Reed, I was very careful. And then I went to work at a property management company in Balham in South London. And it was not cool there. So I was I went back in to the closet there.
So was that different, like between each? Like,
yeah, it was really different. And they didn't live in Balham. They came from suburbs.
So what was the kind of attitude? Were they were more, it felt more reserved, so you felt uncomfortable, or they were actively against?
Nobody really discussed their private life. It was not a place where I would say, they were very nice. Everybody was very nice, but it was not a place where you would make friends.
Yeah.
And then I went to work for an art gallery in Mayfair. for this woman called Judy, who was terribly posh, and of course I became terribly posh with her. And she was really lovely. And she did say to me, "Are you gay?" And I said, "Oh, you are smart, aren't you?" I never really answered.
Was that the first
it,
time you asked that question?
Yeah. She asked me outright.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
and
can
she said,
how
"You
did
know,
it
I
feel-
don't,
how
I
did it
don't
feel
Yeah,
to
mind.
that's been quite
I have gay
daunting.
friends in Cambridge." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm thinking, should I go to Cambridge? Yeah.
Okay, what about your parents? So did they just kind of
No,
know, or did you
no,
have
they
to
were never discussed.
never discuss?
No.
But you
They
feel like they knew, and
Oh, yes. I think everybody knew. I told my sisters. I told my brother.
I think it goes back to Wigtown too, though, because it's a kind of community, perhaps similar to where you come from, Robert, where it's don't ask, don't tell either. So it's not as if it was ever asked of you.
No, it was never asked, but you would feel every time I would go back, you'd feel this terrible pressure.
Mm.
Like I hated going to pubs for a drink because there was always 5 or 6 people. I bet you've got a few girlfriends in London. You're like, "Oh God, please don't ask me that." It was terrible pressure. Like I was never really comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think the cosmopolitan nature of London, the fact that so many people from so many different places are mixing together,
Yeah.
the people that are kind of similar band together, like you said, theatre people earlier.
Yes.
You find that theatre people come together. You find
Yes.
people that have the same
The
interests
retail
come
people.
together.
Yeah, the retail people.
exactly.
It's
It's
Find your
exactly the same
community.
thing. So I imagine that even what we're saying about specific places in London, it's probably that it was just a group of people that you were with at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Wherever they might be, they're more accepting because they're more used to it, or they're more kind of
Exposed
comfortable
to
with
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, I want to
Exposed to
jump
it.
ahead just for the sake of
Yes.
time a bit. So you moved to the US. So
Yes.
well, first of all, how long were you in London for?
I was in London for 6 years. 6 years.
And can you just briefly talk us through the decision to move to the US?
Well, it wasn't. It was never a plan. It was basically Charles, my best friend. Charles and I went to a tour of the States. So we kind of went to New York,
Yeah.
Chicago, San Francisco, Seattle, LA, Vegas, blah, blah. And we fell in love with LA. And, we decided we would move there. So,
Was it quite easy to? Obviously, these days it's, frankly impossible to get a visa.
I mean, it was easy because you could get a social security number just by having a bank account. That all stopped. That's all stopped, it was just a great, LA was was where I was destined to be. I could tell when I got there. Again, there was another level of freedom then. I mean, that was just crazy time. That was just, it just seemed like gay Disneyland, LA.
Remember this, the 70s,
It was
80s?
amazing. It was, I moved to LA in, I came 82. I think, June 15th or something, 82, yeah.
And so so obviously I'll move forward just a bit again for the sake of time. So you established yourself in your career.
Yeah, I went into, I kind of did some fast food jobs and then an answering service, answering phones. And then my very good friend Robin, who's from here originally, he was working for this advertising agency, direct mail kind of thing. So I went there and I think I was supposed to be a project manager or something. Anyway, it worked after the first week. They called me over and they said, it's not really working. You're a bit mouthy. You're a bit loud. I said, okay, I thank you for the opportunity. And they said, oh, no, you'd be perfect in production. I said, oh, wow. So then, that's how it all started.
So you very much moved and then found your place, and then you found your thing.
Advertising kind of we found each other.
Yeah.
But I have great friends in London. I love London. I also have great friends there. So it was truly London was my salvation for sure. LA was my destiny, I think.
Just a quick question, because I know we're tight for time, but you obviously lived through some dark times in California through the AIDS crisis and through everything associated with that. In terms of mental health at that time, just talk us through how you dealt with that and how the wider LGBT community dealt with that.
Oof. So therapy was very, mental health was very, they talked very openly in California. It was, you know, lots of people are therapists and they're quite open about it. So, you know, when I was there, it was party. We were out every night. And then the AIDS crisis came and the Reagan administration did nothing about it. They wouldn't even use the word AIDS. And it took Elizabeth Taylor and Joan Rivers, two women, to basically do fundraisers. And Elizabeth Taylor kissed a person with AIDS. You know, she really was the face. Joan Rivers talks about this in a documentary. She got death threats. She did a first AIDS benefit at Studio One, this gay bar in West Hollywood. They had a bar called the Backlot, and it was a cabaret room, and she did a benefit there. And she got death threats, and she and her husband got and she took her daughter. She said, "Melissa, you're coming with us because we're all going to go together. If that's the case."
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not canceling this. But the party, it just seemed to end. It was so horrible. I lost so many friends, and it was such a dark time. You saw people. I saw my friend Alfred, I saw on a Saturday night at a party dancing, and then Monday he was dead. It was shocking. It was just shocking. And then, you know, we kind of all stopped going out, and then we got political. We joined.
So that was a conscious choice. You went from kind of partying to being disenchanted with it.
Well, you were scared to go to the bars. You were scared. It was kind of like
because you didn't know at the time about transmission or anything like that. It was just
nothing was talked about until, you know, these organizations started, and then we got involved in it. We got involved in it, and then there was this horrible proposition where people with HIV and AIDS, I can't even remember his name, but it was a proposition in California, and they wanted to put people with AIDS and HIV into basically concentration camps. And so we worked the phone banks. We would leave work every night and work the phone banks. So the party, it's as if somebody just turned the disco off and turned the political button on. And and then, you know, I lost really close friends but that kind of led me to, I had stuff to deal with in my childhood, like all the stuff that happened, you know, being so repressed. It has to come out somewhere. It has to come out somewhere. So I said, you know what, I'm seeing a therapist. So I went to this great therapist, and I remember it was like everything else in LA. When it rains, it's big. It pours from the heavens. And I remember I had been with him for about 6 months, and a friend of mine had just passed, and we were having this session, and he went to hug me. And we had, oddly enough, we had talked about Brian for a bit, and then we went into kind of childhood stuff and bullying. And he said, this has been a rough session. I said, yeah. And he said, give me a hug. And I said, I can't hug you. I can't hug you. If I hug you, I'll cry. And I'm not going to cry. So I got in the car on Wilshire Boulevard. The rain was, and I turned the window wiper, and I went to turn the window wipers on higher to make them faster. And then I just lost it completely.
Yeah. It comes out eventually.
For about 40 minutes, I thought, thank God it's raining, because if people are walking past and peeking in this car, and I'm like, I mean, I was hysterical. It just would not stop.
Yeah.
It's interesting though how it comes out so far in the future. Like you know, when you've had something that happens to you in your past, and you didn't realize it was infecting you until you go and you talk
It doesn't
about
go away.
and it sits in the back
Yeah.
of somewhere recorded in the back of your mind where
Should be dealt
someone
with.
just tickles it and it just comes
Yeah.
straight out.
And it should come out.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I think it's important that it comes out. I also think it's really important that therapy is for so many things for so many different people. But for me, I went back into therapy. I finished with my therapist, and I went back into therapy in the early 2000s because I was like, what my goal was to let things go and to forgive. Forgiveness is part of healing, because if you don't forgive, when I say forgive, you can, if somebody's hurt you terribly and you forgive them, doesn't mean you're going to take them out to dinner. You can let them go, but release them. Yeah. You release them with peace. And
I mean, to quote another modern philosopher,
Not
Shrek.
Timothy.
No, Shrek.
Yeah, Shrek.
Better out than in. I think honestly, I think I'm such a huge fan of therapy. I think you're absolutely right. You don't necessarily have to take them for dinner, but chances are they're not thinking about you.
No.
Why should you give them?
Exactly.
And if they did, maybe they wouldn't be impressed to see you at all. Maybe they would just be the same.
Yeah.
But again, I have to.
And also, why are you replaying that stuff in your head that they did to you? Talk about it and get some coping skills.
And I think it does actually. I think it makes you stronger. I mean, again, the whole premise of this podcast is being open. I have similar feelings towards my high school. I won't mention which one. I went to quite a few, but I kind of got bullied for various reasons. And
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry for both of you.
I mean, I think it's sad to say, but it's almost part and parcel of high school. I think kids will
watch
find a way.
adolescent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kids will find a way to point flaws in you, right, one way or another. But I genuinely think, and I've been doing a lot of reflection about this, it's made me into a much better person. Obviously, when you get through the other side, don't get me wrong, it's a horrible time when it's happening to you, and you need a support network. But I genuinely think that I'd be a very different person had I not gone through that.
It teaches you to laugh a little bit, doesn't it? It teaches you to kind of get used to yourself. I think I was always an angry person when I was growing up. A bit like you, really. I obviously didn't have the same thing, but I had a lot of aggression. I couldn't really understand social. It's still there.
A lot of repression somewhere.
But you would get frustrated at things a lot, and you get frustrated at people a lot, and as a result, you kind of get ripped to shreds a lot. And a bit like you, eventually it took to a certain point, and then you snap. Yeah. And then you kind of start to heal. You start to get better at dealing with it. And all those things.
It teaches you laughter, but it also teaches you resilience, because we're often good at thinking about what happened, but you don't often look back and think, I did get through that. And you should be proud of yourself for getting through those challenges too.
I think the two come together. I think laughter and resilience tend to come quite close together.
Yeah. And strength, throw strength in the mix. And also, nobody will ever do that to you again.
No.
Because you won't tolerate it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's win-win.
Yeah.
But John, I want to move a bit forward as well to today's society. Today in general. And obviously, you live in California. Some would consider that the epicenter of many social movements. You spoke about the incredible hardship that you went through with the AIDS pandemic in LA, losing friends. When you look at today's, I'm probably going to get slammed for this by someone, but LGBTQ plus.
That's fine. I get mixed up as well.
Yeah.
That's okay.
When you look at that society, that movement, what stands out for you today?
They're fearless. They're fearless. I mean, they they stand on so many other people's shoulders. Like I stood on other people's shoulders, but they're kind of fearless, and that makes me very happy. They're fearless. Some of them are fearless to the point that I'm just kind of stunned. I'm like, wow, good for you. I couldn't do that. But
is there anything you think they could learn from previous generations?
Have conversations, talk to people more. Don't go when you're at dinner, have conversations about if something's bothering you, or you're having a difficult time, be it in a relationship or at work, or with a parent or a loss you've had, talk about it, but put your phones down at dinner, please. Put your phones down at the table, for God's sake.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's conversation.
Yes.
Conversations.
People, even conversations where you disagree. I mean, Robert and I, William and I, Kieran and I, we all have conversations where we disagree, but we're still very good friends.
Yes.
And I think the problem that I have with society today and many movements is if you disagree, it's persona non grata.
It's binary, yeah.
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 And I think, it's obviously good to get across your opinion, but, the whole saying agree to disagree, I think is important.
Yeah.
I think I get exactly what you're saying. I was also, in my final couple of years, I was very careful what I said at work towards the end, because, sometimes you're put on the spot and you think, should I answer this or should I not answer it? Should I skirt it or should I just pretend I didn't hear it? It's some things are a political minefield, and I'm going to give you an example, and there's a lot of people that will see this. Hopefully, everybody watch and tell your friends to watch. But somebody asked me at work, just in a casual conversation, and it was something to do with trans people in sports. And I was like, so I said, you know what? I'm not a sports medicine doctor. I said, I don't know how to answer this. But basically, I don't really give a there's how many trans athletes could I name? I couldn't name one. So I think deal with the trans people, the trans kids who are kicked out of their homes and selling their bodies on the streets because their parents don't want them. Athletes, deal with that later. Yeah. It's such an explosive, and they know what they're doing when they bring it up. So you get people on TV shows bringing up trans athletes and trans. No, but I don't even know a trans athlete. Yeah. But if there is a trans athlete, good for them. But I prefer to focus on the trans kids who are abused, bullied, being thrown out of their homes. 100%. That's a much bigger problem for me personally than transports. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a sports person anyway.
Well, it's interesting. I think it's interesting because you have to walk a fine line, and you've just kind of said it, is where do you draw the line between an important issue that everybody should be involved with, so people getting kids getting kicked out of their homes, people kind of and people being unable to eat, people suffering horrendously every day from abuse, those sorts of things, and then people who are unable to participate in sports. How do you judge which ones you should have an opinion on? Because I'm a bit like you. I don't know anything about sports and gender in sports. I really don't mind that much. I think we'll leave it to whoever the sports scientist is who's done the calculations and figured it all out. But when it comes to the things that actually impact people's lives on a day-to-day basis, then it's a much more pertinent issue. And I feel like you should have an opinion on those things. But it's, as you say, almost impossible to express those opinions without someone jumping down your throat and saying, "Oh, so you don't think that they should participate in sports?"
I'm not quite sure if there was a question in that statement, but so I'm going to move on. Unless you had a question for John.
No, I didn't have a question. I was making a statement.
But I also think that you need to be careful how you even speak to people, because it's so easy now to say I'm sensing hostility from you, and like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Just a quick question on that though. But what do you think changed? Because it never used to be like this. Do you think it's to do with the fact that a lot of people take rights for granted nowadays, and they don't understand the fights that your generation and previous generations had to get these rights?
I mean, I think what we went through as a community are nothing to what the African American community went through as a community. What women went through in the workplace. I mean, I remember a guy shouting bring in, bring me 2 cups of coffee, honey. It's like, what? And that was in 1990.
Can't say that now.
95. No, terrible. But I mean, I don't know if people take things for granted nowadays. I don't know. I question how aware people are nowadays. Everybody's on a phone all the time. That's the it was so refreshing to see a woman reading a book on the tube the other day, because people are just buried in their phones the whole time. You're also kind of texting at dinner. Don't text at a dinner table.
No.
When somebody's cooked for you.
Yeah. John, as we kind of wrap up this segment, what would you want a scared teenager who's perhaps struggling with his or her sexuality and who's hopefully listening right now, what advice would you give to them?
I would get in touch with a local LGBTQ plus center. I would speak to somebody who's gay or lesbian. I would also get a therapist. Get a therapist because I think you can get them through schools now as well. Join a group, but don't. Bullying is never acceptable. Should never be permissible. Should never be permitted. So I think it's really hard to tell somebody just be yourself, because you've got to be comfortable with yourself before you can be yourself. And then when you become yourself, all the fears dissipate. All the fears. When I look back at that pathetic, frightened, vulnerable teenager, and today I am not scared of one single person on this earth.
Are you proud of that person from then?
You know what? I love that person. I just wish they had been happier. But I'm making up for it now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And would you recommend getting a David Essex poster to this?
Probably a Timothy Chalamet poster now, because I think David Essex probably hasn't weathered. I think he's about 80 now as well. So,
well, if he wants to come on the podcast as well.
David Essex. I'll fly back over. There you go. I'll fly back over.
Yeah.
And John, so I hope you don't mind me saying, but you've obviously retired.
Yes.
How's retirement?
Retirement is 2 weeks in and it's great. I loved what I did. I love not doing it.
Early retirement.
Huh?
Early retirement.
It wasn't early. It was time. And I'm looking forward to when Andre retires. Todd's in uni.
What have you got planned?
Well, we're going to the Caribbean for a couple of weeks. And then we're coming over for a wedding that's happening. And then we're going to
live the life.
The
Cotswolds.
Yeah. So a lot of travel, I'm getting.
Lots of travel, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, John, thank you.
But it's interesting. It's you came from that place in Wigtown, which is kind of up north. There's not loads.
I love that little town.
Nice place. I've been loads of times. I'm looking whether I could live up there. Anyway, yeah.
When was the last time
up in
you were
Aberdeenshire?
To Wigtown.
To Wigtown.
You've been to Wigtown?
Yeah. Where's that? It's up north, isn't it?
No.
Hang on. I've been there. Where is that?
You've busted.
I love that little town, and I love visiting it. And 3 days.
It is a beautiful place.
3 days. 3 days is my enough. I've got to get my London fix.
But you came from there, and you've sort of made life what you wanted. So you've taken it, and you were that boy, and you've grown, and
there'll be statues of you in Wigtown soon enough, John. Well, John, thank you for coming.
My pleasure, you guys. Congratulations
thank you.
on this podcast, and I hope lots of people watch it. And mental health is so necessary for men, women, everybody.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Thank you, John. And as we wrap up,
oh no, here we go. The words of
recurring
advice.
segment
Yeah.
from our resident sage.
You covered it all this week, baby.
You've covered most of it. Yeah.
Come on, pull a nugget out.
But you're not allowed to pass the buck to say what John said. We went kind of against the grain here, where we didn't have any questions relating to this topic, so I went ahead and went on various platforms and kind of found the most pertinent.
Not ChatGPT.
No, this is a genuine question
It's
from a real
always
person. I have
ChatGPT,
this
yeah.
if anyone's curious. But this is the question for you, William.
Okay.
I'm 39 and have these passing thoughts about my sexuality. I tend to ignore them, but I feel ashamed. I'm even questioning myself. I believe I'm straight, but I feel there is part of me that is not. Is something wrong with me?
Wow, that is quite a profound question. I mean, I think the first thing to say is obviously don't be ashamed. You are who you are, and you need to take your own time to explore that and come to. You were talking about how it's difficult to be yourself, but you need to come to love yourself. I think it's important to remember that you only have one life. You only get one shot at this life. You don't get a practice run, so you need to make the most of that. And part of that is going through a process of figuring out what you want from life and loving yourself. And I think once you get to that stage and you've decided exactly what type of relationship you want to pursue, I think you'll be a much happier and much more content person. But I think it's about taking the time to go through that process, being easy on yourself, going through the emotions, leaning into the emotions, and just be your authentic self.
Wow. Never a wiser word was said.
Very, very
Be
sage
yourself.
advice.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Hello all, my name is Aldo Wachalunya and I'm a counseling psychologist. Now today I'm going to be talking about sexuality in boys and young men. It's a vast topic and so I'm not going to cover everything, but I wanted to focus in on what we internalize and also how to be safe when it comes to these things. Now with the history of LGBTQ, it's been mired in discrimination in terms of where we've come from. There has been a lot of progress, but people hold on to these harsh ideas and have no qualms with spewing them off. Now, just because somebody said something does not make it true, but if they say it with enough frequency, sometimes we can begin to internalize those beliefs. Now, it's important to be able to separate that and realize that if it comes to your sexual identity, there's nothing wrong with being a member of the LGBTQ. That's not the way that works. Sexuality differs and it can be fluid, but that is not the entirety of what defines you as a person. It's one aspect. And so it doesn't mean because you identify with a certain sexuality, then this is what you are.
John, thank you so much for your honesty, your courage, and for sharing your story with us today. The perspective you bring, shaped by a very different time, is incredibly powerful, and I know your words will mean a lot to a lot of people, especially those who may be feeling alone or unsure of themselves right now. Just remember, you are not alone. If anything from today's conversation has stirred something up for you, made you question certain things, or if you're struggling with your own mental health, please remember you don't have to carry it on your own. Reaching out and talking about it is a strength, not a weakness. If you're in the UK, there are several organizations ready to listen and help. We'll put links to some of those organizations in the description, but you can contact Samaritans for confidential support, Mind for mental health advice, and local services or switchboard if you're looking for LGBTQ+ specific support. And of course, if needed, your GP or NHS 111 can help guide you toward professional care. But as always, thank you for spending your time with us on the Counsel of Men. Take care of yourselves and check in on each other, and we'll see you next time.
Than we planned. So we gather, we chat, we reset again at the Counsel of Men.